Hey everybody, it's Fancy. Welcome to day 3 of 31 days of Halloween, where I will be posting daily content all the way through the month of October, all the way up through Halloween. Today we're going to be making over this old expired Jeffree Star Cosmetics Skinfrost. I bought this back in like 2015, 2016. I'm not sure when. It's princess cut. It's super old. And it didn't really work all that great when I got it. It sort of hard panned immediately. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing today. And as you can see here, I have all of the things that we're going to need to do this project. We have the paint brushes, water, a palette, a pencil, some glossy Mod Podge. This is for like the final step. And then we have some oil and stuff to clean off the label on the back. Also, I have this dermatology tool that I would not recommend using on your face, but is great for crafting and pottery and things like that. I'm going to use that to scrape it out of the pan. So that's what I'm doing here, is just scraping it out. So I really don't buy from this company anymore. This stuff's just a bit overrated. The owner of the company is kind of shady. I don't need to get into all the details, but yeah, I don't buy from this company anymore, so that's kind of another reason why I wanted to make this over. I'm putting the highlighter in the bucket just so you can see, and you can see on my hand, it's just not like, it's glossy, it's great, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't perform all that great. So the removal process for this was actually pretty easy. I had rinsed it off with water just to get any excess product off, and that made the label pretty wet, so a little bit of just water went a long way. I used kind of a paper towel, dunked it in my paint cup there, my water cup, and it helped soften it quite a bit, and it came off pretty easy. The next thing I did, though, was use some oil to sort of break down that stickiness on the back, and then just some baby wipes. It took a few tries, but it came off pretty easy. I was actually surprised. I thought that would take, I thought it would take longer than it did. So first thing is to get a nice base on, just like when you do makeup, you want to get a nice base going on the thing you're covering. So I just cover the entire thing with black paint. This actually only took, surprisingly, like 2 coats overall, the entire thing. I was really thinking that it was going to take longer than that, or more coats, but these super cheap paints, the black was actually pretty pigmented and covered quite well. I was also surprised that even like getting in the little cracks and crevices and everything, it dried quick enough to where it didn't like wear off and stuff. It was pretty easy to get in everywhere. For painting the inside, I did tape off the mirror and the metal pan just so I wouldn't make a huge mess with the black paint. And then I just kept on getting that all covered up. This process was probably like the longest part of the process. Once I got the base down, everything else went pretty smoothly. You can't really see what I'm sketching here, but I'm sketching on a pumpkin. I'm going to do like a jack-o'-lantern shape on the front with just a really super cute little face. Now the orange paint, as you're about to see, is just super translucent. It doesn't have much opacity to it at all. So it took many coats, and quite a long time actually, because you have to let it dry between coats. You can't just put on a coat and then put on another coat. It's sort of like when you paint your fingernails with old school nail polish before they had the gel and the LED lights and the dips and all this stuff. You know, it would take like really seemingly hours. And that's what happened here. It took me quite a long time to get my pumpkin nice and solid. My little one came in and visited. We had a good little time. We had a fun little conversation while I sat here and painted this pumpkin. There she is holding my hand, telling me she loves me. She's super sweet. She's really the sweetest. So finally I got my final coat on, and I wanted to add some details. So pumpkins have those little lines, so I'm mixing up sort of a red-orange paint. It took me a couple tries to get sort of the shade that I was really wanting. And once I did, I was super happy with it. As you can see, it's giving it that nice sort of like shadow, but it's still in that same orangey color family. I wasn't going for like hyper realism here, but I did sort of want like a cartoony realism, so I tried with just playing with some shading. It took a little bit. Now the yellow was a little bit fun. Like I would dab it on and then use my finger to sort of create those highlights that you see. And then, as you can see, I had a pile of eyeliners there because I had to stop in the middle of the day and go do a friend of mine's daughter's makeup. So while the orange was sitting there drying for after the 900 coats I put on it, I packed up my stuff and then I left those eyeliners there, and I just had noticed those. So putting on the stem and the leaves was super fun. I had a really good time with this process. The green paint was just like, it just worked really nicely. It was pretty forgiving. It sort of built in its own shading in a way, just the way that it lifted. Like, it just was, sometimes you get lucky with the way your medium works when you're painting. And it definitely did on it with this time. I had done just a minimal amount of like looking on Google at different pumpkins and other shapes and stuff when I was planning this. So I don't know how realistic these leaves are, but they worked for me. I think this part of the pumpkin came out super cute. Now the face was a little challenging, you know, because it's totally freehand. I didn't really I didn't sketch the face on. I just sort of envisioned it and went with it. So the first eye came out perfect the way that I wanted it to. The second one I had to like erase and fix it. So, and same thing with the mouth. The mouth was a little bit of a challenge. So, but the cool thing with these paints is you can just paint, like let whatever you put down, let it dry, paint over it, fix it, you know, go back and forth. It's just, you just gotta fiddle with it. Now on the back side, I didn't put as much effort or work into it. I was kind of running low on time, so I put a little bat with a spangly starry sky and kind of called it a day. The final step is I made like a glittery Mod Podge, and you're going to see that I over glittered it. I really should have just done one little, that right there, and then stopped. But instead I went overboard and added more, and then that made the final layer, the final product just is like, it's way too glittery. I should have just done the first amount. But anyway, the Mod Podge goes on really easy. I just brush it on with a brush. If I had a roller, that would have been best, because that would just give you one even layer, let that dry, and then do maybe a second little layer. It dries fairly quickly, actually. It doesn't set right away, so I haven't snapped this thing shut since I finished it. I won't be able to do that probably till tomorrow. But it came out really nice. It's just, like I said, just a little overly glittery. The final step is just a nice thin layer of just Mod Podge by itself. And this time I used a sponge. But there we go. Everything's locked in, sealed in. There's no, like, glitter doesn't flake off at all. I thought that the base, the bottom, was magnetized, and it's not. So these shadows do not stick, but you could just cut out like a circle of magnet sheet, and I'm going to do that. And that way, and glue it in. And then that way, that'll be a magnetized little portable palette that you could have. I could fit 6 decent sized circle shadows in there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But there we are. We have our little cutesy little pumpkin compact. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Please like and subscribe and follow me on social media. Everything will be linked down below. Check out my other videos from day 2 and day 1 where I made an outfit for the first couple of days of 31 Days of Halloween. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. Mwah.